Hey y'all, N4H&H here with the Yaesu FTM-500D, and thank you to Jonathan W5GI for providing this radio for this series of videos. What I want to talk to you about today is the microphone and the A, B, C, D buttons and the P1, P2, P3, P4 buttons. And I'm going to customize one of those buttons, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to put this mobile, okay? And I like to be able to change power with a button on the microphone. I'm actually accustomed to doing that with my ICOM ID880H that is currently in my truck, and that'll be coming out and this will be going in. Now on this radio you can tap the function knob here, and you'll see right here you can change your power level. You tap and then you choose whatever you want. But I don't want to have to reach down and do that. Like I said, I'm accustomed to using a button on the ICOM, and the ICOM has a low, mid, and high button. All right, well, so before I make any change, I want to show you what these buttons do. We'll start with the B button up here. I'm tapping it, and you'll see it's just reversing which VFO is in the top. And that would be the one that you would press this button to transmit on, okay? But interestingly enough, the P1 button down here across the bottom will transmit whatever is in the bottom. It's basically a BVFO transmit. Yeah, so you can transmit on one with this button and transmit on the other VFO with this button. All right, now let's go back up here. So B is switching us between VFOs. Now A is not assigned, by the way, and I wish they would allow us to assign it. It's not. If I could assign A, I'd use it as my power cycle button. All right, but C, if you notice there, it enables squelch, so you can set the squelch. See, it automatically times out if you don't make a change. But with C, you can adjust your squelch. So I'm going to press C and then rotate what would normally be the volume knob. You see. All right, so that's the C button on the microphone. Then you turn what is normally the volume knob to set the squelch. All right, and then the D button turns on the scope, the band scope. And if you tap it again, it turns it back off. All right, so those are the lettered buttons. And then I've already told you what the P1 does, transmits the second VFO. P2, all right, let's check that out. Takes you to your home frequency just instantly. And tap it again to come back to normal operation. And then P3 cycles through the modes. Okay, so you know this radio does FM, but it can receive on AM, but it also does the C4 FM. So that cycles you through the modes. And then the P4, check this out.
Fulton and Walton, what? Heat index value.
Automatically takes you over to the weather station, which I should point out,
Georgia.
once you're over there, you can cycle through the different frequencies. The one nearest to me is on that frequency there, and that happened to be default. And that one's on top of Stone Mountain, not very far from here. Now here's what I want to do. I can't assign A. Yaesu, can you help us? Can you make it possible for us to be able to assign A? According to the manual, that one is unassigned. But the manual does show us how to reassign these. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to long press the function knob to get into the menu. And it's menu number 29 right here, mic program key. I'm going to tap it, and there are your 4 buttons. And I'm going to go down to the one that's called D_X. That's the default. And you see, by the way, there's weather. There's the one that takes you to home channel, and there's the secondary push to talk. I'm going to change the one for mode because I wouldn't likely use that a lot. I'll program any C4M frequencies in there, or I can tap this button here on top. So I'm going to reassign that. All right, so I press and makes it red, and then I can go through and change it. And there it is, TX power. All right, and then I'll hit the back key twice to get back out here. Now watch what happens when I tap the P3 button. Low power set, mid power set, high power set, low power set, mid power set. And, you know, that comes in really handy because like this repeater here, it's a powerhouse. I can get into it with 5 watts. So why waste 50 watts to hit that repeater, and of course then also force the fan to come on sooner? And by the way, I do like that about this rig. The icon that's in my truck now, doesn't matter whether you're on low power. The moment you transmit, the fan comes on. It stays on for a while. It's not coming on just because the radio has heated up some. It just comes on the moment you transmit. And that's a little bit annoying. I don't want the fan to come on unless it needs to. So, you know, like if I'm working that repeater there that I know is a powerhouse of a repeater, I will just tap my P3 and go to low power set. But then if I change frequencies, I can go, you know, somewhere else, and then I can change it. Let me say, find one that's further out. That one in Winder, okay, so then I would probably want to go to high power set. Now it's interesting that this is a global setting. In other words, it's not memory dependent. I will mention that my other radio that I normally use as a base station, well, I've got the FTM-500 over there now too, thanks to Wendell, K5WAN. But I also have this FT-2980 I've had for quite some time, and it puts out 80 watts without even having to have a fan. It's a big heat sink on top. But what's cool about this one, notice that says low. You can, when you program your memories, see that one doesn't say low. You can pick which power level you want for that memory, and then every time you go to that memory, it will automatically go to that power level, which is convenient. That makes that radio really great for a base station, because I can choose the power level, and since I'm a fixed station, I'm always going to use the same power level for that repeater. So, and of course, when I get over here to Simplex, depending on if I need it or not, you know, see, I've got that one set for low, because these are usually used for local communications. But then 505, 520, I've got those on high power, 535s on high power, 550, 565. 580 I've got on low power. Not quite sure. I think that's a mistake. I should have left that on high power. This video is not about this radio, but I'm going to fix it while I see it. I'm going to cycle. This radio has 4 power levels. There's 5, I believe it's 5, 10, 30, and 80. So for 580 simplex, I'm going to leave that at high. And so it's memory number 108. So I'm going to, long press, and re-save that one. And oh, I forgot to fix it. There we go. Now long press. I know this is not a 2980 video, but I'm on the subject. Now I've selected that I want to save to 108. And so now when I go back to memory mode, oh, what happened there? Did I not do that right? I'm talking and trying to do this. Okay, so it's now ready to save. There we go. All right, so now that one is saved at 50 watts. Or no, 80 watts on that radio, 80 watts. All right, so you understand, that's a cool feature. I don't know why they didn't allow that in the newer radio here. But as I recall, the 400 doesn't have that ability either. So it's yeah, little subtle differences even among the Yaesu radios. But anyway, yeah, there we go. Programming these buttons. So remember that I did the P3 because I felt like, yeah, mode change is going to be a thing I'll do least. And this is push to talk for the second VFO. Remember that. And then remember the P2 takes you to your home frequency. It looks like somebody's on it. And now for me, and P4 is weather. And now for me, P3 cycles through the power settings. All right, I hope you found the video helpful and informative. Thanks for watching videos on my channel. And if you appreciate videos on this channel, I want to let you know that it's only because of a Patreon team. These are people who make private donations each month and some yearly to help keep this channel operating, because I don't do any commercials for the radio manufacturers, and that's intentional. I don't want to have them tell me what I can and can't say. So I show you the real truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, if I run across something I don't like in this radio, I'll show you. So because of these Patreon team members, I'm able to bring you unbiased reviews and hopefully save you some money, you know, by telling you don't get this or do get that. You know, really, I'm not even going to tell you that so much as I'm going to say, here's a weakness, here's a strength. You decide whether that's going to affect your operating style or not, because no one makes a perfect radio. You just got to pick the one that's best suited for your needs. Okay, so I want to acknowledge 5 of those Patreon team members I call long haulers, because they support the channel for a year or more on a yearly basis. And so without them, you wouldn't have seen this video, or literally, no kidding, hundreds of others. They wouldn't have existed. I would have quit this because it was costing me money to do it, and I would have quit this in 2021 before the FTDX10 series. So if you appreciate this type of content, consider becoming a Patreon team member long hauler. There are more content over on Patreon that doesn't make it here. Sometimes I show the Patreon something new first, of course, and then it may eventually make it here, but a lot of things don't. And then there's not just videos over there, there's other content that they have access to. There's S5, S7, and S9. And the S9s who subscribe annually have access to everything. All right, hey, 73 to you from N4 H&H.